I decided to begin with this opening slide because I wonder if any of us can, does this trigger, this is cinematically relevant to anybody? Okay, so we know where it's from, right? Okay, so there's a wonderful, if you remember the thesis of the film, which is now becoming a franchise, I think one of the central thrusts behind one of the central philosophical thrusts behind it was that life finds a way. So, and of course, in the movie, it was about. I'm not going to talk about the movie, but so life finds a way. So, being from Singapore, being from representing an education system from across the Pacific in the East Asian region, I think our school systems tend to be I mean, there are certain stereotypes about how our schooling systems are with respect to the more liberal arts education, which we have received. I'm also a benefit of it. But so Makers on Parade. So this is the parade. And this is actually quite it would appear to be quite an unlikely environment for maker culture to manifest itself. So I think one of the fascinating things that I particularly like about the story I'm about to share is that it wasn't instituted in any way as an external funded program or project. It was actually very serendipitous how I discovered it. I was actually with another project of mine, I was already working with some of these young ladies and gentlemen, and they were sharing with me their photographs exactly a year ago from when they had their Christmas holidays, and then I noticed they were doing something really fascinating. So that was how I stumbled upon what they were doing, and it was totally self-initiated. And it happened within this uniform group, which is actually the Air Force cadets. So, so this is just not. I mean, this is simply to tell you that it falls into stereotype in the sense that it's very hierarchical. Okay, it's based upon a military metaphor. Because it's the cadets in this group, they go on to visit Air Force bases and spend time learning about drill and weapons. Not that we need to learn about weapons today. Okay, so just in case you think Singapore is terribly militaristic, there are other uniform groups available for the students to participate in, which should be more familiar. And so the one that we're talking about today is NCC Air, and this is apparently they've been doing pretty well over the past couple of years. So, okay, so now I like this photo because this photo shows several things, and can spend a whole half hour talking about it, but I won't. There's a young lady here, and she's doing something which I think you can probably recognize. She's actually soldering. And behind this door is where the magic happens. And it's a very innocuous looking door. It almost looks as if it's leading to the lavatory, but actually it's not. And actually the handle is broken, which is a bit ironic because this is the makerspace door. But I guess having been to, say, Noisebridge, for those of you who've been out to Noisebridge on Mission Street, the doorbell is broken also. So yeah, maybe there's more to it than that. And like many makerspaces, those of you who are a little bit more theoretically oriented, if you're familiar with Engelstrom's activity theory, basically I'm lensing these slides with respect to the different aspects of activity theory. So here we have the rules, and just like many makerspaces, I found this very interesting because it kind of reinforces the point of hierarchical structure, which can appear quite stifling, and yet life does find a way. So, okay, so here we go with, earlier I think it was Krista who gave the example of peer tutoring? Yeah, mentoring. So, so here we have a grade 9 student teaching basic principles of aerodynamics to his juniors. So generally it starts out, just giving you a bit of context so that you can understand the space a little bit better. This is actually what they're supposed to be doing. In other words, it is ostensibly an Air Force cadet aeromodeling club. However, it kind of has morphed over the years. So, okay, so basically they start out with simulator training, and this simulator training is relevant because it's of relevance to how the makerspace grew. So because these cadets are quite young, so if they were to handle real expensive model planes, they might, of course they would crash them, and crashing is good, seriously, but crashing is also a little bit expensive. So, so the older students are quite happy to crash, but they don't want the juniors to crash. And here you can see the stereotype of an East Asian student happily raising his hand to respond. Okay. So here's another example of how they use the virtual augmentation to practice. In this case, they're actually practicing that this is a target which they're supposed to. So they're learning about flight control, basically. Okay. Now, and then eventually, after the juniors graduate, to the senior grades, they get to handle the models. Here's someone who's in grade 10, and she's helping the juniors who you can't see in the picture assemble a styrofoam model. And then they start to fly. So it's when they start to fly and when they start to crash, that's when the whole thing actually started. Because when you crash something, they had to repair it. So they started to think about the deconstruction of, and when they started thinking about deconstruction, they started thinking about modding. And when they started thinking about modding, they started thinking about they started thinking about applying the theoretical principles which they had learned in abstract to how to mod better, so that their gliders and planes could fly better. Because ultimately they had to take part in national competitions. Okay, so here's the usual Maker toolbox and toolkit. Earlier, both ladies, Heather and Krista, talked about issues of access to tools, and that's actually this aspect of access to tools is very interesting. Before I forget, because I don't really have a slide on this. So access to tools. Now, Life finds a way in the sense that they actually negotiated access with their school teachers to use the school's woodworking and metalworking workshops, even though they weren't necessarily metalwork students or woodwork students. So the fact that this happened in a very in a state-funded school is, to me, is very interesting because it shows the degree of trust which the teachers have with their students, and again, it speaks towards the school culture. And then, ironically, they found that the school's tools were not sufficiently accurate because they were, their soldering iron was like all caked up. So what they did was, again, they showed initiative to go outside to third party workshops and negotiate access to those. And where they couldn't, they were actually using their own pocket money to buy the tools. So I felt that this was pretty. I mean, I never really expected to stumble upon this when I did. And this is even more interesting because here you can see it's modded to the extent that they're going from air-based, from aeroplanes or aircraft to land-based vehicles, and then there's another. They've actually gone on most recently to waterborne craft. So they have to learn about principles of flotation and hydrodynamics, and think about materials in terms of flotation. So here's another stereotypical shot of an East Asian structure, where it's very, very clear who's in power. So again, you have this tension between, I think you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, and you can tell from their faces. as well. Okay, and yet all of these are participants in the makerspace. So I have this slide here because I'm thinking about what I'm studying in this little makerspace here is actually the culture of how the culture of maker and how the culture of something else, can't remember, but it's passed down from one generation to another and from this generation to the next. So this to me is very interesting because it's happening within an overall external structure beyond their control. So and finally, the last couple of slides. Some of them have gone on to these slides are not terribly well done because it's taken by a low resolution camera, but this fellow has gone on to craft his own LED light for his own studying at home. This is taken at home, at his home, and then another person has gone on to use the same tools for hydrolysis. Okay, yeah, okay, it's error modeling. You can blame autocorrect because seriously, okay, I know there's no such word as Arlo, but I corrected it and then the word thought it was something else. So anyway. Okay, so that's my last slide. Okay, so and this is the group. So thanks very much.